My boyfriend, 26M, burned my 23F book. What do I do? Trigger warning, destruction of property, verbal abuse. I have had to rewrite this multiple different times now, as I keep breaking down. I don't know what to do, and I am completely lost. So apologies for any spelling errors or mistakes, as I'm not in the best place mentally. Note that all names are fake so that he doesn't find this hopefully. Now a little backstory, I promise it will make sense. 9 years ago I met my boyfriend, Adrian. I was in 9th grade, and he was in 11th. He had moved in next door, and because we were too close for buses, but too far to walk, he offered to drive me every day. Even after graduating, he drove me. We got really close, and he became my best friend. We started dating 5 years ago. At that time, I began writing my first story, and Adrian's mom, as an author herself, began helping me. Together we wrote, edited, and got my book ready to publish. Then, in 2019, she passed away unexpectedly. Everyone was distraught, and I decided not to publish the book. Instead, I pushed myself more into work. Working 16-hour days. And up until a year ago, I continued to do this. Adrian and I bought a little duplex and moved in together. We rented the other half of it to a friend of his. Now, I've been getting into writing again and have cut back to working 12 hours a day. Over the course of the last decade, I've been buying books. I've spent a good $3,000 on books, and have like 175 bought myself at this point. I have another 50 that I got from his mom before she passed and also left in the will for me, and then a handful from friends over the years. Last time I went through them, I had 300 books. Now I know this might seem intense, but I have read almost every single one of these. Whenever I get a chance at work, when I have a day off, when I can't sleep, I read. Reading is the way I cope, I guess. Adrian knows how important my books are. He knows how much time, money, and energy I put into getting them all and keeping them looking good. He himself has read a good bit of them and helps me take care of them. Last week we got into an argument. I don't remember what it was about, just that it lasted from the time I get off until almost noon. So at the least it lasted 7 hours. Most of it was him screaming at me. I don't know if I fell asleep or what, but I genuinely don't remember any of it. However, it did end with him storming out of the house and leaving. I spent the rest of the day in a haze, and immediately I went to the spare room and started reading. It wasn't until he came in an hour before I had to leave for work that I stopped reading. When I got off work the next morning, I immediately went home, took a shower, and fell asleep. I woke up to the fire alarm going off, and my husband frantically running around, trying to get them to stop. Immediately I went into the spare room to see if everything was okay. My books, specifically the shelf that had been gifted to me, were smoking. Some of them were on the floor. I asked him what had happened, and apparently he was playing with this new flame torch lighter when it caught one of my books on fire. It was on the top shelf, so while it wasn't too bad and he was able to get them out, there was a few books, the ones he threw on the floor. I asked him what book caught on fire, and he didn't respond. Instead he just teared up and pointed. On the ground was the book his mom and I wrote together. I lost it. I asked him to leave, and when he tried to refuse, I threatened to call the police. It took 5 minutes of us arguing before I burst into tears and he finally left. It's been almost a week now. I haven't responded to him at all. I changed the locks on the house, and even informed his friends that if they let him into my part of the house, I'd have all of them arrested. Last night, his father called me. We talked, and while he said that he understood why I was hurt, he thought I should let Adrian come back and try to fix it. I don't know if I can though. I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know what to do, and I just need advice. Edit to clear up confusion. No, we are not actually married. I never have and never will want to be married. We agreed we never wanted to get married. However, we are considered to be in a common law marriage because of how long we've been together. The book he burnt wasn't an actual book. Not a professional one anyways. It was in a notebook that his mom and I were writing in. When I first wrote it, I wasn't allowed electronics, and didn't get my first smartphone until I was 18. So it was just written in a notebook. Thank you all for the advice. I'm calling him, his dad, and my older brother tomorrow to meet for dinner. If it goes well, then it goes well. Hopefully I won't have to do any more updates or edits. Relevant comments. How dumb does someone have to be to use a flame torch inside and near obviously flammable books? It seems like it was on purpose. Also, the fact that he was shouting at you in the argument you had wasn't good either. It seems like he burnt your books on purpose. OP. He constantly is playing with lighters. Usually he is very careful, but I can't see him burning things on purpose. Especially not that book. Comment. How did he get the flame close enough to a book on the top shelf if his intent wasn't to burn that particular thing? Comment. He spent 7 hours screaming at you while you disassociated. That's intense. That isn't just genuinely upset, that's entering into complete emotional breakdown territory. He was able to sustain that tired against you for that long, to maintain intensity for that long, and that is a worry. The idea someone that emotionally intense might burn your book is not a big leap. Still, you zoning out like that is a worry. How often is that happening? How often have you had fights that much out is a worry in and of itself. You don't need to let him back. If you do meet and discuss, it's in the open on neutral ground. You have strong grounds to consider that fire intentional harm, so his presence in your house is a liability until further notice. It's quite clear he needs professional help, but it seems so do you. OP. I'm on a waiting list to go see a therapist, but the appointment is still about 2 months out. His dad was the one who suggested it to me a few months ago, because I do have a tendency to just forget almost all arguments I've had. We don't know why. I think I might have fallen asleep, because I don't have any other explanation as to why I don't remember it. I've had this problem with a lot of arguments ever since I was a teenager. It used to be a lot worse when I lived with my parents, but it got better after I moved out. I'm calling his dad and my older brother tomorrow, and I'm going to have him come with us to dinner before I go to work. I'm hoping that if we can't work it out, then we can at least end it peacefully and don't need to involve anyone else. Update 1. Does anyone know how to restore burnt books? Hi. I own a duplex with my ex-boyfriend, we live in ID, and I'm currently trying to leave. Everything is in both of our names, and we have separate finances. How do I go about getting my name off of everything so I can leave? I don't know how to do any of this, as while we were both on the titles, he did all of the paying and stuff. I've been doing a lot of research, but from what I've found, most of the advice is to get a lawyer. Do I have to get a lawyer? Relevant comments. Is your ex willing to work with you? Step 1 is he'd need to refinance the mortgage to just his name. Do not sign the deed over to him until he does this. OP. I haven't told him about me leaving yet, so I'm not sure yet. Hopefully, he will. Thank you. Update 2. A few months ago, I posted on here about my boyfriend burning a book that was very important to me. Multiple books, actually. A few days after that post, my brother, Isaiah, M29, Adrian, and Adrian's dad all had lunch together a few days later when my brother and I both got time off. I want to say it went well. That we talked and agreed on breaking up and that we went our separate ways. But that would be a lie. We got there and Adrian wasn't there. His father had said that he had been out all night and so he was still asleep. But that he would join us when he woke up. So we waited another half hour before he finally showed up. We ordered and ate in silence until Adrian's dad asked when Adrian was allowed to move back in. Before I could say anything, Isaiah told them that he couldn't until I was moved out. Adrian didn't like this, and it quickly moved into a screaming match. I don't remember much after this. What I do know is that Isaiah and I left not long after, and when we got back home, we started packing my stuff. I have been living with him since. I have taken your guys' advice and tried to report him to the authorities, or get a restraining order. But they wouldn't take my report as he had never been physically abusive towards me and they didn't deem him a threat towards me. We then went and found a lawyer just in case something happens and because I just know Adrian will start trouble with the house and cars. So I guess we're just preparing for that. I got into a doctor who believes I have a dissociate disorder and is sending me to a specialist. However, that is still a few months out. I am also going to be talking to a counselor twice a week, starting sometime this month. I haven't gotten a new job in hospice yet, but honestly I don't think I want to at this moment. For the last month I've been doing some smaller jobs such as babysitting, tutoring, and dog walking. In the meantime I have been reading a lot more and have also been getting back into writing. I've actually recently discovered fanfiction and have joined a book group in my area. I'm going to be honest, I'm happier than I have been in a very long time. Since before my dad came back, at least. He did a lot of damage to not only me, but also to Isaiah, and we are both just starting to recover from it.